Right, so here is a brief overview of what the course entails. Okay, I'm gonna play this from the beginning. Okay, so ESRM 2403, Statistics in Nursing, and this is the first section, right? So these are the outline of a list of topics that will be covered in this class. And you could see clearly they are divided into, let me move this a little bit in case it's blocking someone's view. All right, you could see clearly they are divided into 4 sections, right? And at the end of each section, there is a kind of assessment. So quiz 1 and quiz 2 will be used to assess section 1 and section 3, respectively. Why midterm, the midterm exam after section 2 will be sort of midway cumulative. So it will cover section 1 and section 2, right? So the midterm exam we cover everything in section 2, including everything in section 1, okay? But the quiz covers section 1 only. The quiz 1 covers section 1 only, and quiz 2 covers section 3 only. Okay, the final exam will be also semi-cumulative. Will cover 2/3 of the course. So final exam will include everything done in section 2, section 3, and section 4. So section 1 will not be part of the final exam. Okay. So that is the structure of the course, and I've stated this also more clearly in this syllabus. So what are we going to be doing in this class? And I'm going to show you a brief overview very quickly. This formula here is the formula for, I think I should move this again. I don't know if you have seen this on your own screen. Anyway, so this formula here is the formula for confidence interval. We're going to be meeting this in section 3, okay? What I will do henceforth is to kind of illustrate that this single line formula encapsulates everything we'll be doing from section 1 all the way to section 3, essentially 2/3 of the course. Okay, so stated simply, this is the population mean, and the E's are the margin of error, y x bar is your sample mean. Okay, the margin of error and all this, the single line formula, if expanded, will look something like this. Okay, of course, the population mean is still the population mean, but here is what the margin of error represents. Okay, so it's ZF over 2 times population standard deviation divided by square root of n. Okay, all right, so that is the margin of error on both sides of the equation. So you could see this is a mirror image of each other. Okay, so throughout this course, these parts and pieces that made up this entire formula will actually form the fulcrum of what we're going to be doing from unit 1 in section 1 all the way to the last unit in section 3. So this formula put together is the confidence interval for the mean, okay, for one sample mean. And it is an expansion of this that will give us the confidence interval for 2 sample mean and even for proportion if we intend to go that far. Okay, so how then does each of these pieces relate to the course starting from unit 1? Okay, first you look at the sample mean. Okay, to get the sample mean, you have to gather your data. Okay, if you gather your data, the idea of getting the sample mean is actually the process of summarizing the data. Okay, and so you summarize the data and then you get the sample mean as the descriptive. So you see that section 1, when we deal with sampling, different sampling method, which refers to how you collect your data, and when we organize and put them together in simple form. So we'll be dealing with something like the mean and other measures of that represent summaries, other measures of center, other measures of dispersion. Okay, and over here on the right-hand side, of course, you could see the population standard deviation, which is a measure of dispersion. We'll come to that very quickly. So on the sample mean, we're going to continue the descriptive. I'm just using the sample mean as an example, right? The descriptive we include median, we include mode, and other such simple statistics. So we're going to use those, and the percentiles and quartiles, of course, all related somehow to the data you collected in section 1. Okay, so going further, of course, there will be a couple of formulas being introduced now and then. We'll be introducing this softly in a way that you will not only follow through looking at the formula, it will mean also that conceptually you understand how these formulas are derived, and it will be easy to recall them, or at least to know which to use at what point in time. So elements, a little bit of probability will be touched, and that will also be touched in section 1. Okay. So on this side, we're going to focus on this measure of dispersion, that is the population standard deviation. And you can tell that that also is what will be touched, will also be touched in section 1, just as the sample mean, okay, will be touched in section 1. So the population standard deviation will be captured as we're trying to summarize, organize, and present our data in simple form. Okay, so as a summary statistics, the standard deviation will be computed. Related to the standard deviation, closely related to that is the z-score. Okay, and that will also be computed at this point. And the formula for standard deviation and for z-score will be introduced along with other similar related formula. When we're done with that, essentially, you see, we're picking the formula, the entire confidence interval apart, right? We've taken care of the sample mean, we've taken care of the population standard deviation. We don't need to dwell so much on n. N is the sample size, and it's just the sample size of the data you collected. So, of course, you know what is in the middle here is the population mean. And what you're trying to do with confidence interval, you're trying to find out by what margin of error is the sample mean that you got deviated or away, by what margin is it away from the true population mean? Because you're trying to estimate the population mean, that is your goal. So in the effort to estimate the population mean, because you can't get to everybody which is part of the population, then you're going to take a sample and then you get your sample mean. So you are trying to say, okay, this sample mean, how far away is it from the population mean? And that is where the margin of error comes in. So could be far away on the left, it could be far away on the right. So you're trying to see how far away the two sample mean are from the population mean, which you are trying to estimate. Okay, so expanded, you can see we've taken almost everything out now. What is remaining is just your z alpha over 2, and this is essentially the critical value. And so we'll start dealing with this slowly by calculating the z-score, introducing the table, until we get to section 2, where we introduce normal distribution, significance level, critical value test statistics, p-value, and hypothesis testing. Okay, all this will be captured when we look at the critical value. Okay, so put together these forms, the formula for confidence interval. Okay. And so in effort to get to this point, which we'll be achieving in section 3, essentially, we're going to go through section 1, which deals with collecting, organizing, and summarizing your data. And then we go through section 2, which focuses on these descriptive statistics, how they are derived and how they are used. And then eventually we go to section 3, where we put all that together, information together, to do hypothesis testing and do compute confidence interval, like indicate how confident you are in the value you got. For example, here in this case, the mean. How confident are we in the result we estimated as the mean? We did that estimation using, of course, the sample mean here. Okay. And I know that this might not be very coherent as I'm presenting them now, because I'm trying to show you the entire semester course in just one clip. So if it is confusing a bit, don't worry about that. We're going to take this in bits and in piece and in parts until, towards the end of the semester, we'll get to section 3 actually. What is not included in this slide is section 4. Section 4 has 3 additional topics. We call this additional topic because they are not part of the foundational introductory statistics courses. If you take another statistics course, After this, then you'll be delving more in detail as to the use of those other new 3 topics. And these 3 topics are linear regression and correlation. You have chi-square, and then you have one-way ANOVA. These 3 topics will be captured in section 4. We are going to cover them, of course, in this class. And we'll be doing that using SPSS, kind of illustrates how they are practically implemented. Okay, so I hope this makes sense to you. This is just about everything we're going to be doing in this course. All right. I look forward to working with you, going on a journey with you. Have a good one. Okay, I think we'll stop here.